Very good. Loudly.
My name is Shivai. I am taller. My name is Sasha. I am tallest.
Can you pour some water from the bucket into the bottle? How many glasses you have filled? One. And Harman, can you fill more? Now, Angel, can you tell me how many glasses of water we have filled in the bottle? 2. And Harman, can you tell me the bottle or the bucket which holds more water? Bucket. Very good.
Hello, Toto. Hi, Tina. Let's learn together. Toto, let's read this. Bab. Your turn, Toto. Bag. Your turn, Tina. Bub. Your turn, Toto. Bud. Your turn, Tina. Dab. Job. Your turn, Tina. Judge. Your turn, Toto. Sad. Hello, Tina.
Hi Toto. So Toto, can you read the first line written over here?
Okay. Hat.
Oh wow. So can you make some similar ending words, some rhyming words like hat?
Hat.
Oh wow.
Mat.
Wonderful.
Rat.
Very good. Oh, you know lots of words.
Do you see the big fish? Put the dolphin in basket. Hi Tutu, hi Lola, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. Lola, see what a tiny bird. It is called the hummingbird. It is the smallest bird in the world. It flaps its
Very warm welcome to all of you. Very good morning, and my name is Tom, and I've got Milita, my colleague, sitting next to me. So very warm welcome to today's session on ALfA implementation in your own contexts. So it's a much smaller group today than what we're used to, which means it can be very nice and intimate. We can have lots of interaction through the chat box, and also through, if you like, you're welcome to open your videos and even unmute and discuss with us. That would be really nice. So to start off, I'd just like to invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat box. I've got a couple of questions. Would love to hear your name. We'd love to hear where you're from, your favorite movie, and also how many years you've been involved in education. So I know some of you have a lot of experience, a lot more than me, certainly. And also we'd like to know if you've attended any of our trainings before. So we've run a few different massive open online trainings in the past, and we've had a lot of people join, so it's been fantastic. So we just want to check if you've been to one of our trainings before. Because today's training is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be so much about the ALfA process, the ALfA pedagogy. It's going to be a lot more about what are the next steps to implementation, right? How can we take it from an idea, from a theory, to actually implement it in the classroom? So it's going to be a very practical session in that way. So I'm just having a look, and I want to say especially warm welcome to Karma and Nital and others who are joining us. So Karma and Nital, if you can just introduce yourselves in the chat box, that would be really lovely. And I'm going to ask my colleague Milita to also introduce herself while we're waiting for your introductions to come in the chat box.
So I'm Milita Haldar, and I'm working with Dr. Sunita Gandhi as a master trainer. And in the field of education, I have spent approximately 10 to 10 years, and looking forward to have an interactive session with you all, as well as taking ALfA pedagogy with your support in your own place, in your own area. So that's for which we are out here, and looking forward to have a collaboration and working together with improving the literacy level of your people, your children, your adults in your own place.
Thanks, Milita. And you didn't answer about how many years you've been involved in education. I know you've been involved before working in Devi Sansthan. You've been a university lecturer as well.
Right.
So tell us about your history as well.
Okay, so basically it has been 15 years to say in together, and working as a senior lecturer for an engineering college, had a very good experience of interacting with children, as specifically the adult learners, or to say adult young boys and girls. So it has been a long journey since passing through the different phases of life, and now I am here with Dr. Sunita Gandhi, trying to help in the literacy war, or to say the literacy campaign, under which we want to help each and everyone to become literate in a very short duration of time.
Thanks, Milita. That's wonderful. So you've been involved in education 15 years. We're really looking forward to hearing your introductions in the chat. I want to welcome also Shivani Kapoor. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. And Nital and Karma. Apologies if I'm pronouncing anybody's name incorrectly. So looking forward to hearing your introductions in the chat. And I want to say thanks to Karma Youngchen, working in the field of education for almost 24 years, 10 years of teaching science in schools, and the past 12 years working as an education monitoring officer with the Ministry of Education, Bhutan. Wow, ma'am, fantastic. So pleased and privileged to have you with us today, this morning and this afternoon. So thank you so much for joining us. Bhutan, I've heard it's a beautiful country. I would love to visit someday. Never had the chance yet, but wonderful, ma'am. And Nital and Shivani, looking forward to your introductions as well. By way of introduction for myself, my name's Tom. My parents are from Australia, but I've been living in India for many years, since childhood. And I've been working in education for about 5 or 6 years. I'm not a school teacher. I've never taught in schools, but I teach in slum areas. So urban poor communities. We have a lot of people living in slums here in Lucknow and across India. So it's really my passion to work with the underprivileged populations, populations including child laborers, children who aren't going to school, also children who go to school but are struggling to learn to read and write there. So that's really my passion, is to work for these kids, and also for adults, for many women who aren't able to learn to read. We run literacy classes for them as well. And we find this is an incredible game changer. It's a life changer for them to learn the basic skills of reading and writing. So that's why I'm here today, because I'm so passionate about literacy, so passionate especially about helping and serving those who cannot read and write. You know, Milita, I think for us, we easily take it for granted. No? Right. Like when we see something written, we just automatically read it. Yeah. We take it for granted. But for those who can't read and write, it makes a huge difference in their life once they're empowered with these skills.
Yeah, sure.
So just looking in the chat again, Karma, you're welcome to visit Bhutan anytime. Thank you so much. Yes, we'd love to come. And Nital, okay. So great, Nital Pankaj Kumar Dhoot from Amba Jogai district in Maharashtra. Joined an education group from the last 10 years. This is your first meeting. Okay, wonderful, Nital. Okay. Lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much. I should have checked with Karma have you been to one of our previous sessions in the past? And I'm also looking forward to Shivani ma'am, your introduction. So as I'm looking forward to the introduction, I also want to post a very quick audience poll. So we have this nice feature in Zoom where we can take a vote. It's maybe not too necessary because we only have a couple of participants here, but we'll still run this vote. Right. We want to know whether you're working as a teacher, or whether as a government official, or whether as part of an NGO. So we've just put up this very brief audience poll. I'm going to vote myself as well. I'm in the NGO. So great. So we've got a teacher. I think that's Nitalji. We've got policymaker. I think that's Karmaji. And Shivani, we're also looking forward to your introduction. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint then and briefly share the structure of today's session. I think we're going to have a very short session, very highly interactive session today. And especially we want to be hearing from you as to how you want to take this forward in your context. So thanks. So since Nital is new with us, we're going to be sharing very briefly about the ALfA pedagogy, about how this accelerating learning for all program works. So we're going to be sharing briefly about that. And then after that, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at what are the steps for implementation. So how can we go from planning all the way up to implementation in the classroom, and what are the different choices we have along the way? So we'll have a lot of discussion about that. So Nital, okay, is from Synergy National School, Ambajogai. Fantastic, great. So I think maybe if Karma has been with us in the past, or if Shivani has been with us in the past, I would love to ask you to post, or maybe Nital as well. Even if you haven't been to a session, you're here for some reason, right? You've seen us on the website, or you've maybe I don't know how you heard about us, but you probably have some idea about what are the key principles of ALfA. Right? This is the program we are talking about today, this Accelerating Learning for All program. I'm going to hold this up. This is the book we're talking about, the set of materials. It's available in 30 languages around the world. So accelerating learning for all. What are some of the principles of accelerating learning for all? How does it work in the classroom? We're looking forward to hearing your responses in the chat as we have a bit of interaction around this question of what is ALfA? What is accelerating learning for all? What makes it such an effective literacy and numeracy program? What's different from many conventional programs? So we're looking forward to hearing in the chat, just from your existing knowledge, if you've attended a previous session or if you've read about this on our website. We're looking forward to hearing in the chat and just having a brief discussion about the ALfA pedagogy, the ALfA process. So I think we can end the poll. That's great. We've got teachers, we've got policymakers with us. Fantastic. And looking forward to Shivani's introduction as well. Great. Okay, so looking forward to you hearing from you guys in the chat what you know about ALfA already, right? What you know about the Accelerating Learning for All program. So Nital has posted, it's activity-based education. Absolutely right, Nitalji. So we do a lot of activities in ALfA, right? We'll be doing a couple of activities today with you, just to showcase some of the activities. Absolutely right. So it's activity-based. What else? What are the other ingredients of ALfA? We want to hear from you in the chat. And I'm also going to pull up my PowerPoint again here, and I'm going to ask Milita, because you've been involved with this for a while. So what would you say if you're looking at this PowerPoint, this slide? Can you maybe speak to 1 or 2 points from this as to what in your mind are really the key features of ALfA?
Okay. For me, actually, if we are talking about ALfA pedagogy, for me, the main ingredient of this whole, ALfA pedagogy is that the children are sitting in pairs and learning from each other. So that's a very distinguished way of, learning, wherein it is becoming a pedagogy wherein teacher is not directly, teaching the children how to do or how to solve a basic numerical problem or how to read, but the children are helping each other. Right. So it not only helps them to just learn the concepts or learn the language, but at the same time they are understanding how to collaborate, how to interact with each other. Because what I feel that gradually when they grow up and when they are into this area of job or wherever they are, they have to work in collaboration and interacting with each other. So that's very important. That creates the base for these children and how they have to be. And
that's a really good point, Milita. So you're saying that children are collaborating in the ALfA classroom. They're not competing against each other. What we see in the conventional education system often is highly competitive, stressful exams, I'll do better than you. But you can see in this photo here as well, how the kids are working together as a pair. So it's so collaborative. So we're looking forward to hearing more from you all in the chat as well, from Karmaji or Shivani-ji. Anything you know about the ALfA process so far, what you've seen, what you've heard, what videos you've seen maybe. I'm seeing Nital is saying it's a children-centric class, it's not teacher-centric classroom. Absolutely right, Nital. Very much so. So the teacher is at the side, she is there as a facilitator, she's there as a galvanizer, but the children are really driving the learning process. Very well said, Nital. So we're looking forward to any other comments. Milita, sorry, I cut you off there. So you're going on about the importance of collaboration and so forth.
And apart from that, in ALfA pedagogy, basically when we are teaching them or making them understand about the basic numerical problems, it's or about reading or writing. So it's basically when we are talking about a language,
Yes.
it specifies or builds upon the knowledge from known to unknown.
Right.
And in numeracy, or to say maths,
Yes.
we are helping the children to solve basic numerical problems using items like ice cream sticks or concrete objects.
Sure. So we're using concrete objects. I'll just hold this up to show what we're talking about. We're using these things to represent tens, ones, hundreds, so forth.
Right.
So it makes it much easier for children to do their arithmetic sums when they're actually using concrete objects and manipulating them with their hands.
And I what I feel is making the subject maths coming into the senses of the human beings. You can feel maths. So it's a very what I feel often. I tell it to anyone or everyone, that if I could have learned maths in this very way, I could have been a very good student of maths.
Right, absolutely. We often, when we do these trainings for people who are not very good at maths and they dislike maths, and they try these activities, some of which we'll do with you today, they are like, wow, I didn't know maths could be so fun.
Right.
So I want to say thanks to Karma ji, who said, in the previous occasions, I got to learn teaching words through sounds. ALfA pedagogy enhances children to learn language through mutual collaboration in a child-centered country. It is especially useful in a non-English speaking country. Right, Karma? That's what we find as well in Hindi. I'm not sure about Bhutanese, but in Hindi, it's moving from picture to sound is very powerful because each letter is phonetic. Each letter only makes the one sound. So it's definitely, it's a very powerful methodology. Nital said, moving from known to unknown makes it easier to learn things. Absolutely right, Nitalji. So as you said, it's moving from known to unknown. So in maths, from concrete to abstract. In literacy, from picture to sound to word. If I just pull up my slideshow again, I think you've covered all the main points, Milita and Nital and Karmaji. But just pulling up my slideshow again. So yeah, as you said, ALfA, it's all about children learning in pairs, right? The pairs are made randomly. So this is a very interesting feature of ALfA, is that we are not deliberately pairing and making, say, okay, this is a strong student, this is a weak student, we'll pair them together. Or these are two strong students, we'll pair them together. We're not doing it deliberately. We're actually using a random process. We can just use number chits, or we can use any number of activities to distribute the kids in pairs randomly. And what we find, this helps mix up the classroom. Right? It means that kids are not just sitting with their friend, they're sitting with somebody who maybe they don't know, and they can make a new friend. And this is very powerful. And it also means that no child feels judged. No child feels like, oh, the teacher thinks I'm a weak student. That's why she's made me in a pair this way. So random pairs, lots of activities, as you said, moving from known to unknown. One also very powerful point here is that the children are making questions for each other. So I don't know about you, but in my school days, I would often get a worksheet, 50 questions. Here's 50 addition questions. Solve this for homework. I think it's very boring to just solve questions from a worksheet. But if my friend is giving me a question, I'll be much more interested in trying to solve it. And plus the power of giving a question. Milita is also, if she's giving me a question, she's also thinking, oh, how can I frame this question? What's a tricky question to give? So it's very powerful when children are making questions for each other and solving. So that's really the key to the ALfA process. Thanks, Karma. Karma said, in Bhutan, we speak our native language. English is introduced when the children start education in schools. Teachers need to first explain our native language and then have to translate in English. Absolutely. So I think maybe that's similar. I think in most Indian states also, the teaching is initially in the mother tongue and only later it's explained in English. So absolutely, that's the good order for it. In terms of what this known to unknown process means, just to do a very brief role play demonstration, right? In case you haven't seen this one before. So supposing Milita and I are learning to read. Now this is in English, but it would be the same process in any language, Hindi, Bhutanese, anything. So I will be asking Milita, what is this picture on the left?
This is a car.
Okay, great. And what's the first sound of car?
Car, ka.
Okay, great. And what's the second picture?
This is an apple.
Okay, and what's the first sound of apple?
Apple, a.
Great. And the final picture?
That's a tub.
Okay, and the first sound of tub?
Is t.
Beautiful, well done. So what's the first sound?
K,
Then?
a,
Then?
t.
Okay, so joining the three sounds together,
It will be k, a, t, k, a, t, cat.
well done, great job. So this is how the ALfA process unfolds in the classroom. Is there's pairs of children, they're building, as you said in the chat so rightly, they're building from the picture, which is known, to the sound and to the word. So from the very first lesson, they're learning to decode letters, they're learning to blend together letters to form words. And this is very powerful for them, because if you start by just teaching the alphabet, it takes such a long time to learn the alphabet. It's abstract, it doesn't have meaning. Whereas when from the very first lesson, you're just learning a few letters and you're joining together to form words, it's so powerful. So yeah, it's really inspiring when we see these kids in the classroom and how it unfolds. Now, this would mean in the classroom, by the way, this would mean I asked Milita questions for this word, and then for the next word, she asked me questions. We swap roles. She asked me, what is this? What's its first sound? And so forth. So that's how it unfolds in the ALfA classroom. Pairs of children are taking turns to ask each other questions. I think you've already discussed many of these points in the chat. So the traditional classroom is transaction of learning is from the teacher to the student. They are just giving a lecture, right? Whereas in the ALfA classroom, the transaction of learning is as a pair. And what this means is that the teacher-student ratio in India, unfortunately, it's often like 1:40 or 1:50. But in the ALfA classroom, even with a large class, the transaction of learning can be a 1:1 ratio, right? Why? Because the children are helping each other in a pair. So it's a 1:1 ratio. The traditional classroom, of course, is mainly rote memorization. It's only a few activities occasionally, whereas the ALfA classroom is full of activities. Traditional classroom is whole class work, only occasionally paired learning, whereas in ALfA classroom, it's mainly paired learning. So I think we're not going to discuss too much more about the ALfA pedagogy today, because I think you're mainly already quite familiar with it. If you would like to learn more about the ALfA pedagogy, and especially specific questions like how to teach addition in numeracy, or how to start with learners who can't recognize a single letter, I really want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. Just requesting our technical team to post the YouTube link in the chat here. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to find lots of past trainings which have gone in a lot of detail, a lot of depth in how the ALfA process works in the classroom. But for now, we're going to be moving on and talking a bit about how we can actually start implementing this in our schools. So I just want to share that ALfA is available in 30 languages internationally. So yeah, we're sharing the YouTube link here. So please do check out any past trainings. We've had a lot of good sessions, a lot of highly interactive sessions in which we've done a lot of fun activities. We'll be doing some activities today, but today we're going to keep it fairly short, maybe to just an hour or an hour and a half. And in the past, we've done much longer trainings, which go in a lot of detail. So yeah, ALfA is available in 30 languages. You can see a map here. As far as I know, it's not available yet in Bhutanese.
No.
I may be wrong, but I don't think it's available yet in Bhutanese. So Karma Yangchenji, if you could help us or we could partner with you in replicating this in Bhutanese, I think this would be very powerful. Excellent. Recently, I had a friend from the Philippines who helped us to replicate it in Filipino. So that process took just about 1 or 2 months. So it was a very interesting process, very enjoyable, and it created this very powerful resource, which they are now using in the Philippines and getting good results from. So if you can see, this is a list of international languages that it's available in, and it's a map of the world showcasing which regions these languages are spoken in. I'm also going to show the Indian language map on my next slide. So it's also available in all of these Indian languages. But if it's not yet available in your mother tongue, if that's Bhutanese, or if you have anybody here from a state in India that it's not available in, we would really love your help in replicating it in a new language. We are always trying to expand. We want this is a very high quality, very powerful literacy and numeracy program. So we want it to be available for all children in their mother tongue. So especially Karmaji, we're going to be in touch with you. If you can help us with making this material in Bhutanese, it's going to be super powerful. Yeah. So today, for the rest of the session, what we're looking to discuss is these 10 steps for ALfA implementation. So at the moment, we're at step 1, we're at the step of planning. But then we want to look at what the process looks like as we go forward. So we would like to sign an MOU or a memorandum of understanding. We're going to need to do some data collection in the schools. We're going to do a training and a baseline survey, so a baseline test of all the children so that we can establish their existing learning level. Then parent-teacher meeting. It's very important to get parents involved in this process. Parents are sometimes a little bit reluctant because they are used to the traditional education system and they are familiar with the traditional education system, but it's very important to get parents involved in the process. Then step 7, implementation. So that's the really important part when it's actually doing working in the classrooms. Then after that, reporting on it, reporting and monitoring, doing an inline test and data analysis, and then finally, in the end, data analysis and sharing the results with the government, discussion on how we can scale it up. So these are roughly 10 steps. We'll be sharing a few case studies today of how ALfA implementation has gone already in some districts of India, in Shamli, in Sambalpur, also in other countries like in Maldives, in the USA, in Kenya. So we'll be sharing a few case studies, and especially we want to be hearing from you about how you think it will work best in your context. Because we know no two contexts are the same. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We need to be able to tailor this program to your context. So that's where we want to be hearing your input today. I want to say thanks to Karma. You said we'll be happy to collaborate with you. Wonderful. We are so excited for making it's currently, I think, 31 languages. We want to take it to all the way up to 50 or 100. Right. So Bhutanese maybe can be the next language, which would be very exciting. Okay, so moving forwards then, what do these steps entail? So the first step, very important, of course, is planning. Right? So we need to discuss together with all the stakeholders. So it's great that we've got some teachers here, we've got some government stakeholders here. So you need to discuss together with all your stakeholders, teachers, governments, NGOs who are going to be involved, and come up with a plan. So several things, important things in the plan. One would be which schools, which grades. So how many schools, how many grades. I'll be sharing a case study in just a moment of how this was done in Shamli and also in Maldives. You'll also need to think about a research design. So do you want randomized allocation of schools? So randomized allocation would mean, supposing we are doing it in 50 schools. Okay. We have 50 schools, then we might randomly choose 25 schools to implement ALfA, Accelerating Learning for All, and we'll choose 25 schools to serve as a control group. So then we can compare the data between these groups to see very good research design. Another option, which is also fine, is to say, okay, we already have the evidence for ALfA, right? We can share that evidence with you. We've seen it working well in Shamli and Maldives and so many places. So let's not hold it back. If we have 50 schools, let's implement in all of them, right? We don't want to leave any children behind. We'll just implement in all of them. So then the research design changes a bit. Then the research is mainly about a baseline test and an end-line test, comparing between those two. And then finally, a very important question is whether we are using soft copy materials or hard copy materials. So these books, right, these ALfA materials, which I'm holding up here, it's available as a hard copy. It's also available online as ebooks. It's available through the Literacy Now app. So in some places, there's people are using it as ebooks as an app. In some places, people are using it as paper books. And there's advantages and disadvantages either way. So I'd like to hear your thoughts in the chat. Nital and Karma, and welcome also, by the way, to Beatrice. Very warm welcome. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to Shivani as well. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts in the chat. In your context, do you think you would prefer to use the paper booklets or the ebooks? Which do you think would be more effective in your context? So I'm looking forward and waiting to hear from you in the chat, because we know each context is different. For some, this will work better. For some, that will work better. So we want to hear your thoughts briefly in the chat. Milita, would you like to explain a little bit, in your opinion, what would be the advantages of paper books and what would be the advantages of ebooks?
Okay. For me, if we are talking about, using these materials for the paper and for the, internet-based or the soft copies that are available. So the main, the problem is when we are using this app, that is Literacy Now app.
Yes.
So internet is the issue.
Internet is an issue, right?
That happens many a times in various of the areas,
Right.
wherein the access to these, get limited.
Right.
But for once you get these books printed,
Yes.
at your end, it becomes easier and for the children to use it. And
Yes.
if you have the book in front of you, it becomes much more easier
Right. Right.
to deal upon it. And basically these books are the resources for the schools,
Right.
or the or any of the NGO bodies who are implementing it at their own end. So these books becomes a resource, and they can use again and again.
Yes. Yes.
At their own end.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it becomes a continuous resource for them.
Yes, yes. I should also mention here, when we're talking about books, these are very thin booklets, right? You can see here, or I'm holding up, it's very, very thin. So I think it's the latest version in Hindi was 40 pages for the literacy booklet, which is both reading and writing, and only 20 pages for the numeracy booklet. So we're talking about just 60 pages. So these are very thin booklets, and most of the languages are very thin like that. So yeah, definitely the printing cost is also not too much. The paper expense is not too much. I'm saying that Nital ji is saying paper book, I think, is better because we can use it anytime, as ma'am says about internet issue. Absolutely. So if you have unreliable internet, or if your classrooms do not have, in most government schools in India, we don't have much technology in the classroom. We don't have a smart board. We don't have, children don't have mobile phones sometimes. So in this case, paper book definitely has the advantage. So we're interested to hear from Beatrice, from Shivani, from Karma, what you're thinking in your context. Now, this meeting, we're not going to tie anybody down. We're not going to say, okay, you said paper books, so now you can only have paper books. We're not going to, it's not about that. It's just about throwing around some ideas and getting you thinking about, in your context, which would be the best way to go. So Milita, you've made a good case for paper books. What do you think would be the advantages of ebooks or apps, if anything?
See, for me, the ebooks can be a very good resource because the main thing is it is easily available and there is no cost involved in it.
Right, right.
Just only the the access to the internet becomes the major point.
Right.
And you can, if you have the internet, if you have the resources,
yes,
you can use it, go on and
yes,
using it.
Yes.
And at the same time, because it is very interactive and there are some games that
yes,
the children can
yes,
play,
yes,
so it becomes more interesting.
Right.
And more engaging.
Right.
If they have the access to the internet,
okay,
so it becomes much more engaging and
sure,
much more.
So there's lots of fun games that you can play on the app as well.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So we've got some fun drag and drop games, which are like, you can imagine that there's some pictures and there's some letters, and the child needs to drag the letters to match them with the pictures. And then there's many more fun games available on the app. So yeah, that's definitely quite engaging. I'm just posting a link here in the chat. Right. This is the link to our website, which has the list of all the languages. And if you go on this, you can also, I don't think you can't download the ebook from this, but you can view the ebook online.
Yeah.
So you can see what we're talking about. And if you'd like to use this in your school as an ebook, definitely you're welcome to. So Nital is saying the ebook is also good. Yeah, definitely. Both are good. Both are powerful. It's just a matter of preference, a matter of context as to which will be better for your. Karmaji is saying paper booklets will be preferable, as many of our far-flung schools do not have stable internet connectivity. Schools in our urban schools do have internet connection, but my concern is with the remote schools of Bhutan. They are the ones in the underprivileged category. Very well said, Karmaji. I totally agree with you that we should be most concerned about the far-flung schools, the schools with the underprivileged children. That is the most important.
Right.
So we can also have a hybrid approach, right? If you want, we can obviously provide the ebooks. We can also provide the paper books, and schools that have the technology can use the ebooks. Schools that don't have the technology can use the paper books. Right. So we can definitely choose the best of both worlds. One very brief thing I want to mention here, obviously the advantage of the ebooks is the cost, right? The cost of printing is not too much, but I think it's something like 100 rupees or something for printing a set. In India, 100 rupees is like $1.5 US. So it's not too expensive, but it costs a little bit. Whereas the ebook, of course, is totally free. So that's one slight advantage of the ebooks. Okay, we're looking forward to hearing from Beatrice or Shivani. Like I mentioned, this is a very interactive session. So it's only going to be beneficial if you are thinking about it in your own context. We're not here to tell you, you should do paper books, you should do ebooks. We're here to discuss with you and hear what you think is best. So Karmaji, hybrid method, yeah, definitely. Okay, so this is one of the things we can think about as going forwards. I just want to share briefly a case study of the planning stage in these two different stages, two different contexts. So in the Maldives, what they did, they have about 200 plus government schools, and they're implementing ALfA across the board in all of those schools. They did not want the research design of we'll only do it in a few schools and not in others. They're doing it just across the board, all of their schools. They're doing from kindergarten to grade 3, and they're using the printed copies of the ALfA materials. We printed them here and we shipped them there to the Maldives. In contrast, in City Montessori School here in Lucknow, India, they have 22 campuses. This, by the way, is the world's largest school. It's the Guinness Book of World Record holder for the world's largest school. In 22 campuses, they're implementing in 9 of those 22. They're implementing the ALfA program. So this is kind of a research design, right? Some campuses implementing, some campuses are not implementing. So they'll be able to compare the results between the two. They're going from kindergarten to grade 2, and there they're using only soft copies. So this is a school which they do have the technology, they have the infrastructure of the smart boards, so they are using the soft copies of the materials. You can see the photos there in the bottom, a photo from Maldives and a photo from CMS. So all this to say, there's plenty of flexibility. We're not going to tell you what you should do. We want to discuss with you and together decide what is going to be best in each context. If we talk about the second step after planning, we'll want to sign an MOU together. Now, an MOU is just a memorandum of understanding. I know it's boring. I know it's very, legalistic of, okay, we need to sit down and write something, but it's also important. So what this means is there's intellectual property rights. So these books are copyrighted, copyrighted under Devi Sansthan, our founder, Dr. Sunita Gandhi. So we want this to be a free resource to share, but not a resource that others can copy and change. Yeah. So it's available, but it needs to be done honestly and legitimately. So that's the MOU is an intellectual property agreement. On the other hand, in this project, you will be sharing us some data about your schools, because we want to be doing research there. We want to be able to publish, hopefully together with you, the results in some journal article or in some study. So you will be sharing some data with us, hopefully, about your schools, your students, the test results and so forth. So of course, we need to treat that data confidentially. We're not going to go around and publish, Milita scored 30%, right? So of course, we also need to commit to that data confidentiality. Right. So MOU, very simple. We can share a template with you, and very simple. You can just review that and sign it, and then we can move forwards quickly. I want to acknowledge Beatrice said, due to network challenges and learners will not be able to have devices to use. Right, Beatrice, my experience working in slums in Lucknow is the same. Many families, they have a smartphone, but sometimes it's not recharged. They don't have the recharge on it, or sometimes the network is not so good. So after the MOU, right, then also very important is data collection. So supposing you decide to implement it in 50 schools or in even 2 schools or whatever, you'll need to share some data with us. So we will give you a format, right, an Excel format. You will share the data, things, this will be things like the number of students in the different classes, the number of teachers, the teachers' names, the teachers' email IDs. So the teacher's name and email ID is important, especially if we're using the soft copies of the material. Then we will be creating login IDs for them to access the Literacy Now app. The number of students in each class, so that we can decide on the printing quantity. So all of this data, we'll share a format with you. You can collect the data and share it with us, which will be very useful in the research phase. Petra said, at my school, we have Wi-Fi, but devices are not available. Right, yeah, device is an issue. Okay, so MOU, data collection, these are kind of boring steps, but they're very important for the success of a project. Then in terms of training, right, very interesting questions here with training. We can conduct, one model would be, we can conduct an online training for all of your teachers, right? So if your teachers are fluent in either English or Hindi, we are fluent in both of those. I think Milita is fluent in Bengali and a few more languages than me. But if it's some common language like this, then we can conduct an online training for all of your teachers. This would be, if you look at our YouTube channel, you can see past examples of what this online training looks like. It can be very interactive. We will ask the teachers to bring some materials from home, which they can use to do the numeracy activities. We'll ask them to be doing a lot of fun things together. So we can do an online training for all of your teachers. Or another option would be, we could do an online training for some of your key resource persons. Like I think Karmaji, you will be a fantastic trainer, fantastic resource person. So we could do just a shorter online session with you to go into the details of it. And then you could do an in-person training with all of your teachers, right? Especially this may be good if there's internet issues, right? If it's remote, then you could do an in-person training with them. Now there's advantages and disadvantages either way. Right, so I want to hear your thoughts in the chat. What do you think? Would you prefer this the in-person training, in which would mean we give an online training to some of your resource people, and then they do an in-person training, or would you prefer an online training for all of them? So we're interested to hear your thoughts in the chat. Which of these two options do you think might be more appropriate in your context? Milita, I want to hear from you as well. You've done a lot of in-person trainings, you've done a lot of online trainings. What do you think are some of the advantages and disadvantages of each?
See, for me, to say in-person training becomes a little more, effective in the sense, because the person who is there can understand the feeling of the learners or the participants who are participating in this training session. And at the same time, it becomes more interactive. The problems can be solved then and there.
Right.
In the online sessions, this is what I have, often sometimes failed, to reach out and understand how or whether my trainees are getting to understand what I'm are trying to teach them, or what I'm trying to train them. Because it often happens they keep their videos off and so on and so forth. But the main advantage of the online training session is that I can reach out to them at their own feasible time, and they can reach back their homes, and they don't have that you don't have to find out their own feasible time and time slot. These all have to be arranged for in-person training. But when on online training, the teachers or the trainees who are there, they get back to their own homes. They can very well settle down, and we can do an online training session at their own feasible time and slot.
Good point. So I'm seeing Karmaji has posted in the chat. For me, in-person training is more effective. It's more interactive and better to understand. Absolutely, yeah. So there's definitely lots of advantages for the in-person training. And as Milita was saying, I agree that one of the advantages of the online training is that it's more convenient, right? It's cheaper, obviously. There's no travel, there's no logistics difficulties. We recently just had a training in Unnao, a different district. We had 160 teachers together in the one room, and it was so hot. It was almost unbearable. Whereas here today, for example, we can be meeting and you can be in the comfort of your own home. So there's definitely some advantages. One other advantage of an online training is that we can show videos. We can watch videos of classroom implementation. So often in the in-person training, the audio quality may not be so good. We may not have the projector and everything. So the advantage of an online training is if you came at the start of today's session, you would have seen we played a video right at the start. We'll be playing a video at the end as well. So you can watch videos which really take you inside the classroom. And much more than just us telling you about it, right? If you see it and hear it, see how it's working in the classroom, that can be very powerful for teachers. So there's definitely advantages and disadvantages either way. Okay, so Beatrice is saying online training can be more effective. And Nital is saying online training we can do as per our convenience. Absolutely right. So we can do, even late at night. Today we've got another session late at night, 9 p.m. Indian time, which Milith and I will be doing from our homes. So definitely there's flexibility there. So again, we're not trying to tie anybody down today, right? We're just saying that there are these options there and we can discuss this together and work out. If you prefer the in-person training, then most of the time it's not possible for Milita or I to travel, right? And also because you are the expert in the local language. So in Bhutan, I think Karma was saying in-person training will be more effective. In this case, what we would love to do is we give a short session with you in English online, and then you run the in-person training in the mother tongue, in Bhutanese. I think this will be very powerful. So we can do this sort of hybrid mode of we do an online training and then you do an in-person training, or we can do an online training for everybody in English or Hindi. Nital said at 9 p.m. is same or different, right? Nital, 9 p.m. is the same. So we're just going to be talking about these same 10 steps. We're going to be interacting with people about what their preference is, what their plan is. So just lots of our international colleagues could not make it for this session, whereas 9 p.m. is more convenient for colleagues in America. So that's why we have these two different sessions. If you come now, you're here now, no need to come at 9 p.m. It's going to be the same thing. Okay, fantastic. So we've talked a bit about what the possibilities are for the training. I want to say also, if we are providing, like maybe we'll do in Bhutan, if we do an online training and then you do an in-person training, we can provide you a lot of resources which will help you in doing that training. So don't think, okay, it'll be too hard. It's actually quite easy, right? So we're providing you like things like a teacher handbook. We can provide you some PowerPoints, some videos to show, some quizzes, some fun quizzes to check on knowledge. So we can provide you a whole bunch of resources, and I'm sure you're already excellent master trainers in your own context. So you'll be able to take these materials and run a great training yourself. Okay, after the training, very important is doing baseline testing, right? Baseline testing to establish the learning level of the students. So again, here there's a couple of options. If you want, you can use your own country or your own state, their testing resources, which are already available. So for example, in India, we have, I think, the National Achievement Test,
Yes,
the NAT. The government produces these standardized test materials, and I think probably in Bhutan it may be the same. Maybe in most countries the government produces standardized testing materials, so you can use those. That's totally fine. Or another option is we can share you some of the testing resources we have created. We have created testing resources based on India's government tests, but also with some changes and I think maybe some improvements. So we can share this with you, and you can use these tests as well if you prefer, or instead. One thing I'd like to mention here is we encourage you to use a scanning software. So if you use this sort of test, you can see on my slide here, it's a simple multiple choice test, and then children themselves are filling the OMR sheet, or the teacher is helping them fill the OMR sheet once they've chosen their answers. So they're filling the OMR sheet, and then it can be scanned, and the data from that can be analyzed instantly, right? So that's the advantage. Marking by hand, it takes a long time, it's very laborious, whereas this process of scanning the sheets, we can instantly get data. And we can also get quite detailed data. So we can get the data of different competencies. So for example, we can find out, okay, these 1,000 children sat the test, and 800 of them, 80% were struggling with addition. So addition is a problem. Or so many of them do not recognize matras yet, or so many of them cannot read passages. So we can get the detailed information to figure out exactly where the gaps are. So that's really powerful when we're planning this program.
right.
So the baseline testing, very important. And again, it's totally up to you whether you would like to. If you like, we can share you our testing resources, which are available in English, Hindi, and several other Indian languages. Or if you like, you can use your own government or your own country's testing resources. And just the important thing will be collecting data fairly and being able to analyze that so that we can get a good baseline. In terms of the sixth step, right, if we just discuss this, Milit is an expert on this one, the parent-teacher meeting, right? So very often parents will have some objections to the ALfA process. Very often parents will be a little bit reluctant because they have their traditional mindset of, okay, this is what a school should be. This is what school was when I was a child. So then if you see in ALfA, when kids are doing so many hands-on activities, there are not so many exams, there's not so many tests, there's more just lots of fun games and activities. Sometimes the parents object and they say, oh, it's all games. Where are my children actually learning? So it's very important to bring our parents along with the process. So Milita, would you like to share what do we do normally to help our parents to understand the process and to be engaged with it?
Actually, it can be a kind of, in-person activity based, to say demonstration of ALfA, wherein we can help them to understand by making them do certain of the activities that
Right.
we generally do inside the classroom.
Right.
Just just giving you an example of
Yes.
doing the clap and snap activity that we generally do.
Let's do this. Let's do this in case you haven't done the clap and snap.
Okay.
So we can just take the PowerPoint down for a moment, and Milith and I will do a clapping and snapping activity, which is one of our favorites. It's very powerful inside the classroom, and it's also great for parents because they really enjoy it, and it gives them a sense of what the ALfA process is all about. So in this activity, right, we'll be asking you to respond in the chat here. In this activity, a clap is worth 10 and a snap is worth 1. So these are 10s and these are 1s. So in the classroom, pairs of children, one child will be clapping and snapping a number, the other child will be responding with what that number is. So we'll be doing that. I'll clap and snap a number for Militha, and I would like you all to please respond in the chat. See if you can respond quicker than Militha responds. Okay, ready? So remember that a clap is 10 and a snap is 1. Here we go. Ready? Okay, so we're waiting for your response to come quickly in the chat before Militha responds. Can you tell us what number this was?
Wow.
Okay, so that was fast from Karma and Nital. Come on, Shivani and Beatrice. So Militha, what do you think? What was it?
Yeah, it was 31 because I got my answer.
Okay, great. So now it's your turn. Again, in the ALfA classroom, the children are taking turns. They're not just one child doing it all. The children are taking turns. So Militha, your turn for me now.
Okay.
Okay, a bit of a bigger number. So waiting to see in the chat what number you thought this was. And Karma 54, Nital 53. Yeah, I think it was 53, right?
53.
53, okay. But we understand, of course, with the internet and it's not so loud. So definitely that's understandable to miss one. So 53. Great. And one of the beautiful things about this activity is it's very flexible. You can do it at different levels. So this was a 2-digit number. Now let's try a 3-digit number.
Okay.
So for 3 digits, we use this, the shoulder tap, as 100. Okay. So this is going to be 100. This is 10s and this is 1s. So Militha, ready for a number?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so waiting for your response in the chat here as to what number I made for Militha. Saw that this was a 3-digit number now. And that's the beautiful thing about this activity is kids can easily do it at different levels. So some of them can be making 2-digit numbers, others can be doing 3-digit numbers, others can be doing 4-digit numbers. Yeah, Militha, what do you think it was?
303.
303, fantastic, exactly right. So for 1,000, we can add the overhead clap. This can be 1,000.
Right.
So this sort of activity, we have many good activities in the ALfA program. If you're looking through the books, you'll see lots of activities, but this is one of our favorites, which we often do in the parent-teacher meeting. The parent-teachers also get involved in it. The parents get involved in it, and they can understand that, well, this activity is very powerful. Let me ask you in the chat. Let me ask you, actually, that would be better. What do you think children are learning from this activity, right? What maths concepts are children learning from this process? Interested to hear your thoughts in the chat. That's why we do this activity with the parents, because they can see that, okay, this is a powerful activity. This is actually helping our children gain maths, learn maths. And so even though it's fun, just because it's fun doesn't mean that it's just a game, right? There's actually a lot of learning happening here as well. So we're interested to hear in the chat. What do you think? What maths concepts are children learning through this activity? Militha, what's your opinion? As we've done this activity so many times in lots of different classes, what do you think children are learning from this?
See, basically, what I feel is they are not just only learning the numbers, but also understanding the place values.
Right.
And what I have known in the government schools while interacting with the children of the government school, if you ask them to, say a number from 1 to say the numbers from 1 to 100, they can speak as a machine from 1 to 100.
Yes.
But if you point out to one particular number from that number, they won't be able to say it because
Right.
they have memorized the number
Right.
like a a tape recorder.
Yes.
But
Yes.
this concept helps them to understand each digit individually.
Right,
So that's
right.
very effective.
Good point. So they're understanding that the ones is a snap, the tens is a clap, this is 100. So they're understanding that these are different, right? It's not that they're all the same. These are actually different, hundreds, tens, and ones. Good point. Interested to hear anybody else in the chat. What do you think from this activity? What are the concepts that children in the classroom can learn through this activity? Nital said activities make children learning easily because it's just like a game for them. It's not just like study. Absolutely right. So when we're just studying from the board or just studying by writing numbers in the copy, it's not as interesting, it's not as engaging, and the learning is not as clear. It's not as deeper learning. Whereas from the activity, they're learning it much more clearly. Absolutely. Beatrice, looks like maybe there was some net lag, a net issue, but yeah, you put in 303, exactly right. Karma says, interesting, it's learning through play, absolutely right. So we do a few of these activities, and we do a lot of activities in the classroom, but we do a few activities with the parents as well, so that they can understand, right? Because otherwise, if the child is coming home and they don't have much homework, or the child doesn't have a test coming up, right? The parent can be a little bit like, oh, what is going on, right? All these games and activities. So whereas if we have a good interaction with the parents at the start, we can show them some videos of how it's working in the classroom, we can do these activities with them, then they will definitely be on board and they'll be excited for the process as well. And Nital said it will be affecting lifelong learning for them. Absolutely right. So just pulling up my PowerPoint again, if we discuss then, so we've done the testing, we've done a teacher meeting with the parents, a parent-teacher meeting. Then, of course, we've got the implementation, right? Implementation, very important. So how it actually works in the classroom. Now here we've got two options, right? One option is to give 1 period per day for language and 1 period per day for maths. So this, in our experience, it then takes usually 45 days for the children to be able to complete this book. So during those 2 periods, they're only using the ALfA books and the ALfA process. So they're making very swift progress through that. And in 45 days, they're basically learning to read, write, and do basic arithmetic. Beatrice said, children are asking each other questions. They're learning through play. Absolutely right. So it's a very powerful activity for this reason. So this is one option, is this 45 days program in which you're still doing lots of other things in the school day, but you're setting aside 1 period each for language and for maths. Another option is to do a 20-day intensive. So Milit and I tried this recently in a government school here during the school holidays. We did a 20-day literacy camp intensive. It was actually only 15 days in that case. And there it was the whole day, right? So it's 3 or 4 hours we were taking for focusing on literacy and numeracy. So we were not worried about science, science, computer, social studies, so forth. We were just doing literacy and numeracy, a real intensive. And in that, we were getting pretty good results in just 15, 20 days. So using the ALfA books and process for the whole school day. Now you may be thinking, okay, that seems boring if we're just doing language and maths for the whole school day. But as you've seen, the language and maths process is very much activity-based. It's very much through children learning in pairs. So it's actually very interesting for them. They want even more. They don't want to go home at the end of the school day. They want to keep doing it. So the advantage of this 20 days, well, let me ask you first in the chat, right? Which modality do you think might suit you better, right? So one option is the 45-day program in which you're doing 1 period per day for language and for maths. So it can take 45 days. Another option would be to really do an intensive. This could be during the school holidays. It could be during the school year. Do a 15 or 20-day intensive in which you're really focusing on bringing children up to that foundational level of literacy and numeracy. So again, interested to hear from you in the chat, which of these do you think would be better in your context, right? Both are very good. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, to do it a little bit more spread out or to do it as a real intensive. Of course, even 45 days is super fast, right? 20 days is incredibly fast. 45 days is also very fast. So it's totally up to you as to how much you want this to be a focused, really concentrated time, or how much you want to spread it out over that 45-day period. So interested to hear your thoughts in the chat. Milita, what are your thoughts of in you seeing both of these? Which do you prefer generally?
For me, if if you know there are certain constraints when you are implementing these ideas or these two different implementation programs, what I have come across is many times there are regulations by the government
Right.
that you have to run these other subjects
Right.
in day-to-day life
Sure.
or day-to-day
Sure.
classes of the
Sure.
children. So for those constraints that are
Yes.
being put down by the government,
Yes.
then you can opt in for 45 days.
Yes.
But if you have some kind of flexibility,
Yes.
then obviously you can obviously go in for the 20 days intensive program. But it all depends upon the circumstances and the rules and regulations
Yes.
of the government bodies
Yes.
or to say the management.
Yes.
So it all depends upon the circumstances.
Absolutely. So Nitalji has said both options are good, but I think first option is better. Yeah, that's right. We agree that both options are great, and it depends. Yeah, ma'am says is correct. That's right. So many governments or many rules will have this rule that you have to do science and computer and so forth. The advantage of the 20-day intensive is, in our experience, if the children learn to read, then all of the other subjects become easier. Right? Whether you're looking at science, social science, history, any other subject, it becomes much easier, obviously, when you can read and understand your textbook. So it kind of makes sense to focus on reading at the start, really intensively, and then move on to the other subjects. But we know that it's not possible all the time, as Milita was saying. So the 45-day program is also very fast and very, very effective. Karmaji said, if it's spread over 45 days would be better, as there are many other activities and subjects mandatory in Bhutanese schools. Right, exactly what Milita was saying. And we're not against other subjects. Let me be very clear. We think science is very important, history is very important, computer. These are all very, very important. And we think students need all of these skills. It's just the 20-day option. The advantage of this is that children learn to read first, and then all of those other subjects become much easier for them as well. Beatrice said they're all good, but I feel the second option would be best. So again, like with all of these points, it's up to you guys, right? We're not telling you must do this, you must do that. Right. We're just discussing it with you that, okay, these are the advantages and disadvantages. Let's weigh it up and decide in your context what will be best. So again, totally up to you. I want to briefly mention with this 45-day program as well, you may be thinking, okay, if children learn to read and write in 45 days, what are they going to do for the rest of the school year, right? So we often talk about 3 phases to the school year if you're using the ALfA materials. So for the first 45 days, you can use these books, right? Use these books in this process to learn how to read, write, and do basic numeracy. For the second phase, for maybe another 45 days, the children are then using the government textbooks. They're using the prescribed textbooks, and they're often finishing those textbooks very quickly. Why? Because they have already learned those skills, right? So in India, the ALfA books, the Hindi books, the numeracy books, they've been designed based on the government Nipun Bharat program. You would be familiar with Nipun Bharat. So all of the competencies which are there in the Nipun Bharat program, if you finish the ALfA books, you've learned all those competencies. So then the government textbooks will also be easy for you to complete. So the first phase, the ALfA books, second phase, the government textbooks, and then third phase is moving beyond the textbooks. So this is doing lots of projects, right? Children are writing their own stories, they're doing their own activities, they're doing social service projects often. So the third phase is very exciting. Once they've achieved that basic level of literacy and numeracy, they've finished their textbooks, then it's the chance for learning to explode. I know they're reading newspapers, they're reading books from the library, they're reading things that they enjoy. So the third phase is also very, very powerful. So that's the beauty of the ALfA of the ALfA program, is because they're learning to read so quickly, then there's so much more time in the school year for them to read storybooks and read the things that they are really enjoying reading. Fantastic. So thanks Beatrice, thanks Karma, thanks Nital. As you were saying, there's some advantages and disadvantages either way, and it's up to you, up to your context, which you think is best. So just pulling up my PowerPoint again and moving forward to the last couple of steps. I should mention in the implementation phase, what it looks like inside the classroom. You may be wondering, okay, what it looks like inside the classroom. Again, I encourage you to go and have a look at some of our previous trainings in which we do this in much more detail. But here, very briefly, there's 4 steps inside the ALfA classroom. The first step is the teachers are demonstrating in a pair. So that in a pair, meaning they pull a child forwards and have, so that would mean like what Milith and I just did. We demonstrate the clapping and snapping activity. Then after that, we call two children forwards and they demonstrate from the front. After that, the whole class is working as pairs. So the whole class is there. They've made pairs. So for example, in the clapping and snapping activity, they are one child is clapping and snapping, the other child is responding. So the whole class is working in pairs. And then finally, the children are making new questions for each other. So for example, supposing we're doing addition, right? First, the teacher will give them some questions. So she'll give them a question, okay, 28 plus 35, or 56 plus 14, whatever. She'll give them some questions. And then after that, the children will be making new questions for each other. So each of the pairs, they'll write a little question on a sheet of paper. So I'll write my question, I'll give it to Milita, she'll write her question and give it to me. And the power of this process is the kids are much more motivated. I'm like, okay, Milita made this question for me. I really want to try to solve this. I want to show her that I know how to do it. Much more interesting than just the teacher giving them questions or just a worksheet. Much more interesting when they are making questions for each other. So this is how it works in the implementation phase. And obviously all of this will be covered in much more detail during the training. Okay, along with the implementation, very important to keep records, right? So we can use WhatsApp groups to share photos and videos and any questions or challenges. So Milith and I, we're both part of lots of WhatsApp groups, and we both enjoy when teachers post their photos and videos, they can post their queries. And so probably in your context, if WhatsApp is best, we'll create a WhatsApp group for all the teachers, or we could create several different WhatsApp groups, and the teachers can post their photos and videos in there. And it's very powerful because they can quickly get a response from us or from you to help them with any troubleshooting. Another option is to use Google Drive. So if it's a large scale implementation, if you've got hundreds of schools, then the WhatsApp group can fill up very quickly. So we can create together a Google Drive, Google folder, and the teachers can upload their photos and videos there. So they're keeping records of the process and how it unfolds. Let me just ask you in the chat if you want, because I know that every country is different in terms of what their main social media is. So could you respond in the chat? What do you think would be the best way of record keeping in your context? So for example, might it be WhatsApp? Might it be Facebook? Might it be, I don't know, Instagram? Instagram is also good for photos and videos. So what do you think would be the best way of record keeping and for teachers to be able to share with each other, right? Because I think when teachers are sharing their photos and videos with each other, that's very inspiring. Others want to take part and it's very motivating. So yeah, we're interested here. In India, WhatsApp is very, very common. So we're using WhatsApp, but maybe in other parts, Facebook, Instagram,
and Telegram.
Telegram also. So interested here in the chat, what do you think might be best in your context? So Nital has said WhatsApp. Interested to hear from Beatrice and Karma. I don't know. I think Beatrice, maybe you're from Zimbabwe, right? So I don't know anything about Zimbabwe and Bhutan as to what the main social media is there, if any. So interested to hear from you guys in the chat. Whatever you think is best, we're happy to be flexible, right? I don't know how to use Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, but I'm happy to learn. Milita, do you have an experience here you'd like to share? What do you think is the advantage of teachers sharing their photos and videos?
Yeah, for what I feel is when the teachers are sharing their photos and videos on the WhatsApp group that we have created, many a times it happens, it pumps up or gives us more energy.
Right.
Because you see that what is happening or how it is all happening. Right. So it encourages us a lot.
Absolutely.
Because it imbibes us to go more and more and spread this idea more and more. And at the same time, we take these videos and or photographs together and make a compiled video for the others to see. Or we take it up as a witness of your work, how you are doing in your particular area.
Right.
And the third point that can be a very beneficial aspect is that when the teachers are posting their own photographs and videos, so these photographs and videos, when they are posting, supposedly there are some drawbacks or certain of the things that are, that the teacher lack in
Or any suggestions for improvement. Yeah.
So that we can provide instantly.
Yes.
And that helps into the improvement of the
Sure.
implementation of the program.
Sure. And we should say there, when we provide any suggestions for improvement, for example, recently we had, see in these materials, we have these colored picture and letter cards, which the children use to play games. Now, what you're supposed to do here is to cut them up. You cut them up and then children play games with them. They play matching games and so forth. What some teachers were doing is they were not cutting them up. They were just using them like this to rote learn the alphabet. They were teaching their students like this. So they posted this on the WhatsApp group. They posted a video or photo. So then we do not post back in the group. We post individually, on a private chat with them. We post and we give them the suggestion, hey, can you try cutting up this? It will be more powerful for your students. So definitely it's not about shaming teachers or telling teachers publicly, okay, you should do this. We can respond there in the private chat. And on the flip side, when a teacher shares a really good video, we congratulate them publicly. So congratulate publicly, suggest privately. So I'm seeing Karmaji is saying WhatsApp, Telegram are commonly used among the government civil servants. Google Drive are used to share information. Okay, fantastic. WeChat is commonly used among non-literate communities, especially amongst parents of our students. Great. So maybe we can use a WeChat group as well, and add the parents so that they can see what's happening inside the classroom. That's a beautiful idea. So just pulling up my PowerPoint again to discuss the final two steps. So we've talked about implementation. We've talked about record keeping, right? Also very important. Then as we move towards the end of the project or the end of the implementation, very important to do an N-line test and data analysis. Now, ideally, this test would be done by a third party, which means not by the students, or sorry, not by the teachers of your school, but rather by some external agency, if this is possible. Now, again, you can use the physical test papers, so you can use the government ones or the ones we can share, or you can also use the Literacy Now app. The Literacy Now app, which is freely available, has this option of a post-test in which there's certain games and activities that the children are doing. They are dragging and dropping pictures to match with letters or pictures to match with words, and they're doing lots of fun activities. And it's also a test, right? It's a test, but through activities on this app. So you can see here in this photo, this is one of our volunteers helping one of the children take the test on the Literacy Now app. So that's also an option. You can use this online Literacy Now app, or you can use the physical test. And then ultimately, we'll be comparing the results. We'll be comparing the baseline to end-line difference. And if you have two different groups of schools, if you have the group that's implementing ALfA and a reference group that's not implementing ALfA, then we can compare the results across those two groups to see what level of difference that the ALfA program made. So the end-line testing, also very important. And then finally, at the end of it all, we can write up a report together with you. We can hopefully get it published maybe in some journal article. Recently, the ALfA program in Shamli and in Maldives was published in a book by the Harvard Graduate School of Education. We've also had a journal article published in the Economic and Political Weekly. So we are very interested in research and in publishing more data and evidence. So hopefully we can do that together with you. And then discussing it with the government, discussing for the possibilities for scale up. This is what's happening in India at the moment. ALfA has been trialed in a few different districts. It's been trialed in Shamli, in Uttar Pradesh. It's been trialed in Sambalpur and Orissa. And because the results from this are coming quite positively, now the government is interested in scaling it up and doing it in more different districts. Milit and I, just last week, we were down in Unnao doing a training for another, I think, 160 schools there. So, even if we start small, starting small is totally fine and good, right? If we start with just one school and we try it out, we demonstrate, find its efficacy, and then after that we can scale it up to much larger context. So the scale up is also very important. And again, this would be done totally in collaboration. We don't get it perfect every time. We would be having a detailed review. Okay, what went wrong? What can we do better next time? And then using that information, using that process, we can decide how best to scale it up in more schools. Beatrice has also said WhatsApp is easy to use and parents too can use it. Okay, fantastic, great. So WhatsApp is convenient for us as well. So this was our 10 steps. I'm just going to show you again the 10-step process. So planning, signing an MOU together, doing the data collection, the basic initial data collection of the number of schools, number of students, so forth, doing a training, be that online training or offline training, doing the baseline test, whether that be using the government testing materials or our testing materials, having parent-teacher meetings, doing those fun activities together, then doing the actual implementation, be that for the 45 days or the 20 days or some modality, reporting, so on WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever group we use, reporting and sharing photos and videos, then an inline test and the data analysis, and then finally sharing the results with the government, and then planning for potentially scaling up in the future. So these are the basic steps as we've looked at how it's worked in Shamli, in Maldives, in different places where it's worked so far. These are the basic steps that are required. So today's session was mainly just to discuss this, and it's been fantastic that you guys have interacted so much in the chat. And you know, we've thrown around some good ideas about what can work in this context, what can work in that context. So I'm going to ask you just briefly to respond, to respond any thoughts in the chat here regarding sorry, I'm just trying to go to my next slide, sorry. Yeah, okay. So yeah, just any thoughts in the chat, any questions from today's session, right? Anything that you're still in doubt about, any queries you have. And we're also interested to hear, you know, what excites you about being an ALfA implementer. I know it can seem a bit daunting, right? It's 10 steps, you know, oh, an MOU, all this testing, all this data collection, writing up. Oh man, there's so much work to be done. But we want to hear what is exciting to you about this, right? If we're not excited about it, trust me, it won't happen, you know, because there is a lot of work. It's true, right. There is a lot of work. But hopefully we're all passionate about it for the sake of our kids, because we want the betterment of our kids. So I want to ask any final questions or final comments as we're looking to wrap this session up by 1:30. So we've got 12 minutes left. So yeah, any questions, any comments, and what excites you about becoming an ALfA implementer? While I'm waiting for your responses here, I'm also want to let you know that Milit and I will be sharing a Google form with you, hopefully later today. So as you're planning to take it forward, this Google form will have some of these questions which we've asked you today, right? So you can take it back, think about it, discuss it with your colleagues, discuss it with other stakeholders. So it will have some indicative questions. It's not to tie you down, but it's just questions like, okay, do you think you prefer the physical books or the ebooks? Do you think you would prefer the online training or the offline training? And, you know, can we line up a meeting together to discuss it more in detail? So, you know, we'll have a more in-depth personal Zoom meeting with each of you if you would like to take this forwards. So, yeah, we're looking forward to, we'll be sharing that Google form with you later today. And if you can just discuss it with your colleagues, discuss it with the other stakeholders and fill it in. Again, we're not going to tie you to it and say, okay, you said physical books, so now you can't change. It's just so that we get an indication, right, of how you are planning. Okay, Nital has posted, I would like to do much more training along with you. Thank you, Nital. You are most welcome anytime. I'm just going to post our YouTube link once again in the chat, and you can just subscribe to our YouTube channel. We often run trainings. We run trainings in English and Hindi both on this YouTube channel. So you're most welcome to come and join us. Please also check out past trainings. If you haven't been to a training in the past, you can check out just a couple of weeks ago, we were doing a session in Hindi, which went really well. It was looking in detail at numeracy and also literacy, how it works. So yeah, most welcome to come. Okay, still waiting for any questions at all from today's session. And also we're looking forward to hearing what excites you about this program. What excites you about becoming an ALfA implementer? Milita, any final thoughts you'd like to share while we're waiting for responses in the chat? I'm just going to go back, sorry. Any final thoughts you'd like to share about this, the 10-step process?
Definitely, you will be all. It's a journey that we want to begin with you, and you will be always finding us step by step. In every step, you will be finding us there. And if you need any assistance in the implementation of the the program, we'll be always more than happy to assist you. And what I feel is MOU being the primary step. So let's start on with the journey together with the implementation, and definitely you'll be seeing the results happening very shortly in a very short duration of time. And together with you, we can scale it up at a very larger level.
Absolutely. Very well said. So I just want to acknowledge a few comments coming in. Beatrice said, what excites me most is that I am gaining knowledge, new skills. It helps me to impart knowledge to children. Wonderful. Thanks, Beatrice. That's what we are passionate about also, right? It's all about the children. It's about their welfare, their benefit. And ultimately, education is all about the future of the nation, right? Nital said, can we get much more activities to take, as you showed about tens and ones? Absolutely. So please go check out our YouTube channel. You can see easily past trainings in which we've done many more activities, right? Sometimes we have a 2.5 hour or 3 hour session just on numeracy. So there we're doing 8-10 different activities. I'm also just going to share my screen very briefly and show you that you can also see, our ebooks online, right? I'm just going to show you what that looks like briefly. So you can go online and just have a look at our ebooks. Our ebooks showcase a lot more activities, right? There's a lot of activities in here. So you can see this web page. It has all these different languages. You can see maths here. I'm just going to open the English version of maths for now. And this is just opening up while it's loading. This is a slightly older version. I've now reduced this to 20 pages. So let me just show you 1 or 2 activities here. Okay, so for example, this clapping and snapping activity, hope you can see my screen here. This clapping and snapping activity comes here in module 6, right? You can see the representation here of 1 clap and 3 snaps is 13. So yeah, most of the activities we do in our trainings, they all come from these books. You can see here, there's this idea of less than and greater than using a crocodile. So the hungry crocodile always faces the bigger number. So you can see the crocodile, like it has its mouth out like this. So if Milita is the bigger number, then I will be facing this direction. And that is why greater than sign is like this. So there's lots of fun ways to explain these maths concepts. You can see here, there's this hands-on activity using matchsticks, right? So if it's 8 plus 7 makes 15, they're using matchsticks to do this. Similarly, they're doing subtraction and all the different number operations and lots of fun activities in this book. So definitely, this is a very useful resource. You can go online, you can check out this resource. I'm just going to stop sharing. Thanks, Nita. Okay, and I'm just having a look. Okay, Karma. So Karma said, all 10 steps for ALfA implementations are fantastic. When it comes to MOU signing, I have some reservations because for any program to take forward, our government has the overall responsibility. I alone cannot decide on this. I have to get permission from the executive head of my ministry. This would take quite a lot of process and time. Okay, Karma, right? I understand. Definitely we know from India that signing the MOU with the government, it always takes time. So no worries, right? I think some sort of written agreement is still important, right? Even if it's not a legally binding agreement, right? Even if it's just a written understanding between us, that's also fine. Yeah, so let's discuss it more. We want to be discussing more with you anyway about replicating the materials in Bhutanese. So yeah, we'll be sending you an email later today with a Google form, and maybe we could have a one-on-one Zoom call just with you, like just Milita, me, and yourself, or any other colleagues from your side to discuss how this is possible. I would invite Dr. Sunita to that meeting as well. She would come along because I know she's very excited about potentially starting in Bhutan. Okay, Nital said, having any more training in this month? Okay, I'm not sure if we do have any more trainings this coming month, but we are running trainings pretty frequently. If you look at our YouTube channel, you'll see there's a lot of trainings there. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get a notification when the next training is coming up. So please do subscribe. And yeah, it'll be lovely to have you back for more sessions. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this session today. Even though it was only a small group of us, it means it can feel much more personal and lots of good interaction, good discussion. And once again, we are really excited to be taking this forward, right? We've already seen how powerfully the ALfA program is working in Shamli, in Sambalpur, in Maldives. And so we are very excited about the possibility of starting it in new places, in Bhutan, in Zimbabwe, in, I think, was it Maharashtra that Nital was from? So we are so excited, and we want to say thank you so much as well, right? The fact that you are giving your time, your precious time to come to a meeting like this means that you are really inspired. You are working for change for your children. So thank you so much, right? We'll be in touch. We'll be in close communication. We're going to share you a Google form later today. So please do fill that in to express your interest in terms of, whether we're doing paper books or ebooks, and number of students, number of schools, all of these details. Just fill it in roughly with your what you are thinking at this stage. And we'll definitely be in close touch. We're very happy to have individualized Zoom meetings as well, right? We know here, okay, we've got 3 different people from 3 different contexts, but we'll have, once we get to the later stages of the planning process, we'll have an individual meeting with each of you as you want to take it forwards. Thank you so much, Karma. Thanks Beatrice. Thanks Shivani. Thanks anybody else who joined in between who I wasn't able to see. Sorry about that. And thanks Nital. We really enjoyed it. So we're going to sign off, and we're going to play a video right as we close. So you're welcome to stick around and see the video. This is another video showcasing ALfA implementation in the classroom. It's a numeracy video, so it's showing how it works, I think, with multiplication, right? We're going to be showing you how this can look in the ALfA classroom. Once again, thank you so much. So signing off from my side, thank you so much.
Thanks
we really
a lot.
enjoyed it. We'll be just on this Google form, we'll be sharing this by email, right? So I think you would have received this invitation by email or via WhatsApp. However you receive the invitation to today's session, we'll be sending you the Google form link through that. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Hello everyone.
Hello, ma'am.
So what is today's topic?
Multiplication.
Okay, very good. So are you ready for the activity?
Yes.
Okay, so here I will call one child, and the name of the child is, here I will take one ice cream stick by closing my eyes, and the name of the child is Shreyans. Shreyans, please come. Hello Shreyans.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you?
Fine.
So you know today's topic is multiplication. Okay, so we are going to learn about multiplication. So can you tell me, Shreyans, what do you mean by multiplication?
Addition.
Okay, repeated addition. So here, are you ready to solve the question?
Yes.
Take out one pen. Please read the question.
There are 5 apples in a bowl. How many apples are there in 4 bowls? 5 apples, 4 bowls.
Keep counting.
3, 4, 5. 1 times 5.
Okay, very good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 times 5. 5. 4 times 5. 4 times 5.
So what is how many altogether?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20 apples are in bowl.
4 bowls. So how many times 5 are there?
4 times
4 times
5.
5. It makes 4 times 5 means,
20.
can you repeat this?
20.
4 times 5.
4 times 5 is 20.
Once more.
4 times 5 means 20.
Okay, so the answer is how many apples are there in 4 bowls?
20.
Can you give me complete answer? How many apples are there in 4 bowls?
There are 20 apples in 4 bowls.
Very good. Okay, so Shreyans, are you ready to do this activity with your friend?
Yes.
So shall I call your friend? Okay. Again, I will take one ice cream stick randomly by closing my eyes. And here, the name of the child is Mishka. Mishka, please come. Hello, Mishka.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm fine.
So are you ready for the activity?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, Mishka. Hello, Shreyans. So, are you ready? Yes, I am ready. Can you take out chit from this box? There are 4 students standing in a line. How many students are standing in 3 lines? 4 students, 3 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. One line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 line. 1 times 4, 2 times 4, 3 times 4. So the total is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3 times 4 is 12. Well done. Thank you. Are you ready? Yes. There are 4 apples in one bowl. How many apples there are in total in 5 bowls? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, can you count together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now, let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, Now can you write it?